true, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am. But why will I say that I am mad? The disease has served my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. But what else was the sense of hearing acute? I heard all things in heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How can I be so crazy if I can tell this whole story so calmly? I can't remember when I first came up with this idea, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man, he had never wronged me, he had never given me insult. I think it was his eye, yes, it was this idea of a corpse. A deep yellow eye, shrouded in evil. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point where you must think I'm crazy, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation. I was never kinder to the old man in the whole week before I killed him. Every night of that week, I opened his door very gently. I moved in slowly, very, very slowly, so that I wouldn't wake him up. It was a delicate procedure to move myself into his room, let a single thin ray of light fall upon the corpse eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, so it was impossible to do the work. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone and inquiring how he has passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed, to suspect that every night just at 12 I looked in at him while he slept. For a whole hour I didn't move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I've done night after night. I heard a groan. I knew it was terror. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him. Although I chuckled, I knew he had been lying awake ever since the first noise. Because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him, and enveloped him. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to turn on the flashlight, so I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until the ray fell upon the eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, a dull hazel, and I directed the eye precisely upon the damned spot. And for your information, what you mistake for madness is but oversensitivity of the senses. Then I heard a sound, and I knew the sound well. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. Even then, I kept still. I barely breathed. I held the flashlight motionless. The hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I leaped into the room. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and slit his throat. The old man was dead. I examined his heart. There was no pulsation. If you still think I'm crazy, you no longer think so when I describe all the precautions I took to hide the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then brought out a large chest, so thickly and sturdily built that it would surely hide the evidence of my deeds. So solidly made, I was certain that when locked it would hide my secrets for good. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the door. I opened it, for what had I to fear? There entered a man who introduced himself as a friend of the old man's. He had intended to surprise him with a visit when he heard a shriek, and was finally bringing himself the courage to investigate. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitor all over the house. I bade him search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed him his belongings, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I set him down in my living room, and desired him here to rest his fatigues, while I myself sat just inches away from my victim's corpse. The friend was satisfied with my story. My manner had convinced him. I was singularly at ease, but after a while I felt myself getting pale and wished him gone. I began to hear a noise that stung my brain. I gasped for breath. Yet my neighbor did not hear the sound, yet it steadily increased. I knew where the sound was coming from. It was my victim from inside the chest. They must know. They were simply mocking me. How could they not hear it? I felt that I must scream or die, and now, hark! Louder, louder! Villains! I shrieked. Dissemble no more, aim at the deed, tear up the planks, is the beating of his hideous heart.